Standing by. The Terry and Ted podcast is sponsored by Jaguar Land Rover Laval. Get out of the big city and experience a construction zone-free test drive. There is such a thing.
Hello, Ted Bird.
How do you do, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I think we call these mini podcasts, the Bridge podcasts, until season 2. Is that right?
Yeah, we do. They're just tiny little things.
Yes, they are.
And I have to warn you, I went for my third booster today, so at any moment...
Ted and I thought we would begin the podcast by covering this past weekend's events.
Oh, no, we didn't. No, sir, we're not going there.
No.
I will say this about the vaccine, though. I found this interesting today when I went for my booster. The girl who jabbed me was telling me I got Pfizer the first 2 times around.
Yes, sir.
And she said, this time you're getting half a dose of Moderna.
Oh, okay.
Well, I've always been told, don't mix your drinks. Does that not apply to vaccines as well?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Is that like drinking 2 bottles of wine and then having a Mickey a lemon gin? Because I'm going to barf if it is.
Remember those days?
Yeah.
I've been drinking White Russians all night. Now I think I'll switch to Jello shots.
Yeah, that's not a good plan at all.
Yeah. We should start by saying season 2 is about to be recorded. I am going to join Ted Bird at the really fabulous Pantelis, Mike Ward, Poseidon, Phil studios. Do they have a name? I don't think they have a name, do they, Ted?
Well, it's called there's 2. There's Pantelis Comedy.
Yes.
And Phil Balabanos. Is it Balabanos?
Balabanos, yeah.
Balabanos Creative, I believe. So Phil is in cahoots with Pantelis and Mike. And anyway, all of that to say, it's up on Chabanel, and it's a spectacular facility, and we are so lucky. Yeah, Phil Balabanos.
Yeah.
We're so lucky that they have not only agreed to host us, they asked us to come. I think now they're probably having second thoughts. Coming back. Well, I hope they bring food.
Yeah. Hey, we should say Phil did that really, our teaser promo, which is still up on the Twitter account. You can see it with us getting out of
It's the pinned tweet.
Yeah, that Phil did that, and it was an idea we had in our head, and a half an hour later, it was up and running. Phil's just unbelievable, as is, Poseidon and Pantelis too. They know what they're doing, and I'm going to be flying in to join Ted because we like doing these. But Ted and I have always found over the last 30 years that being in the same studio increases the I don't know, it just does something to our chemistry. It's just a lot more fun when we're sitting across from each other.
There's no substitute for having my hand at the very top of Terry's leg.
That's correct. I'm flying in for my thrill.
So you're flying in from where you live now. So it's time for you to come clean and let people know that you've made the big move.
Well, it was never really a secret. If you look at my Twitter account, my location says Vancouver, British Columbia. And you'll know this, Ted, from all the years we worked together. I've been coming out to BC for probably 30 years. My first trip out here was in 1981. I got in my VW Beetle from my base in Winnipeg at the time and drove across the country and really, really fell in love with the West and particularly British Columbia. And when I was approaching my so-called retirement, AKA getting pushed out the door, Jess and I had a discussion about where we wanted to end up. Because I had sold my house in NDG and we didn't really know what we wanted to do. And I got to come clean. Jess and I were getting tired of the politics. And it's interesting because Jess is a Francophone. My wife is a Francophone from a French family. I'm a Quebec born and raised kid. And from my time living in Manitoba and my time living in Alberta, I can tell you, as my mother always says, you can take the boy out of Montreal. You never take the Montreal out of the boy. And anybody who's English has family that lives elsewhere. There's, everybody knows somebody who doesn't stay, who doesn't live, there's an ongoing, not an English exodus like there was in the 70s, but your son would be an example.
My son Sam has moved to Toronto. I find the generation after us, you'd be hard pressed to find very many who stay.
Yeah. And, you see on Facebook a lot of proud, ex-Montrealers, born and raised in Montreal, and, in Calgary and Vancouver and Toronto and far-flung places in the United States. And anyway, we talked about it, and Jess said to me, I've got an opportunity for a job in Vancouver. You've always wanted to live there. Let's go. And I've never been afraid of new chapters. I took one a few years ago, 12 years ago now, when I lived in Alberta, moved to Calgary. And I also, the biggest part of this was the winter. I'm pretty much done with the 40 centimeters of snow in the minus 35. And
you don't get a lot of that in BC, I guess, eh?
No,
not in the part of BC where you are. In northern BC, I would imagine.
In northern BC,
the interior,
and in the interior, it's quite wintry. And as a matter of fact, this year, because we moved here, they had the coldest temperatures and the most snow they've had in the last 25.
The DiMonte weather curse.
That's right. Followed me here. So it was pretty crumpy around Christmas time. Everybody out here, of course, loved it because it's so rare. It got cold enough that you could skate outside, and there was, snow for the kids to play in. But the good news is it only lasted a couple of weeks. And I went for my walk this morning. What are we, the end of January? 7 degrees and sunny. Now, seven out here is cold. 7 is like, ooh, it's a little chilly. You can't wear your shorts. But to have a winter that lasts, a snowy, cold spell that lasts a week, and you could put your shorts back on in January, appealed to me. So we started a new chapter in British Columbia, and Jess loves her gig. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything else, we've been kind of homebound. There are places we want to explore in the Pacific Northwest. We'd like to spend more time in Whistler. We'd like to spend more time in the interior of BC. We live, I'm 15 minutes from the American border. You can literally go down to the States for gas and a sandwich and come home. But of course, you can't do that right now. So we're waiting for things to open up so we can explore the new chapter a little better. But yeah, British Columbia now is home for me.
And what is it about the West that has always drawn you? Is there any one thing, the lay of the land, the people, or is it a combination of things?
Yeah, it's a combination of things, I think, Ted. Certainly everywhere I look, when I drive out of my house and go towards, the east or the west or the north, my view is mountains. On a sunny day, if you come to British Columbia on a sunny, clear day, you're in trouble. You're going to want to live here. And for me, the mountains have always been spectacular. It's a rainforest. Yeah, it rains a lot, but that means there's a lot of greenery, a lot of trees. Love that. And it's the kind of neighborhood. I'm not in Vancouver proper. I'm in the outskirts. And we live in a neighborhood where for the first couple of weeks, I was like, what? Because you'd walk by people and they'd say good morning. I kind of like that. That's a different vibe from, say, Griffintown. So,
I do that anyway. I don't care where I am. I talk
good for you.
Yeah. And if they don't talk back to me, and you know what, that's because I'm from the Maritimes. That's because I'm from a place where you do say good morning.
Yeah.
And my grandfather did that. My father did that. My son, Sam, does that. Yeah. Sam and I call that shovel time. There was a tweet. I don't know if I've told this story, if this is one of the 10 stories, but somebody tweeted something about going into the hardware store with their father, and a woman was coming out of the hardware store carrying a shovel, and the father went, "Uh-oh, shovel time." And the person who tweeted it talked about how embarrassed they were and the awkward look on the woman's face. But that's exactly the kind of thing that I would do, that my dad would do, that my grandfather would do, and that my son would do. So, I know it seems strange to you to live in a place now where people do that, where they strike up a conversation. But quite frankly, I think it's quite normal, and I think it's quite healthy.
Yeah, and I truly enjoy it. I mean, there was a price to pay, and people who move around know this. I'm excited by new chapters, but there's a price to pay. I'm much further away from, my family. My mom, my dad, my sister, and my brother are all in Ontario. They haven't lived in Quebec for 30, 40 years, but I'm farther away from them now, of course. And also they there's a lot of things that we, people that we miss. I can't, call you up and have lunch with you. I miss my Dr. Uman at Cardiogenics. The people that you've turned in circles with for 30 plus years, that's a tough price to pay. That and the food. I miss the food, the Montreal food, as Leslie Chesterman loves to say. Montreal's nothing without its restaurants. But those are the things you balance, right? You say, well, do I want a new chapter? Do I want to try new things? Yes, I do. So let's go.
And with technology, you can see your parents every day. You
Absolutely.
can do what we're doing right now. It's a lot easier to stay in touch from a distance now than it would have been, even 20 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the story. It was, I'm being honest, mostly it was time to support my wife. She had an opportunity to get a new job in Vancouver. And, for the last 4 or 5 years, she was getting up in the middle of the night with me and, doing all the events that I did with my old job and whatever, and was nothing but supportive. And I wanted to be supportive. I wanted to try something new. I was tired of the politics. I'm sick and tired of, we don't have to go into the instances. It's a never ending story. It'll never go away. And minus 35. I was anxious to leave, even though there are not a lot of days of minus 30, I was anxious to leave those behind. So that's you got to try new things, because the ride doesn't go on forever, right?
Listen, I think that you've got an opportunity from where you sit now to see, and you talked about exploring the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest. There are places out there that I've never been, but I would love to go to that aren't on most people's radar, like Idaho.
Yes.
And Oregon.
Yes.
Places that you never think of as a vacation destination, but places that I'm guessing are absolutely stunningly beautiful.
Yeah. And we, over the years, a couple of times I've made the drive along the West Coast. You leave here and head through Seattle and Portland and into Northern California. You could do all that by car. Idaho, New Mexico, Montana. These are all places that Jess and I have spoken about. And the plane ride to Hawaii is much shorter from this part of the world.
You ever been?
I've never been. And it's at the top of our list again, the pandemic. We can go for the weekend to Vegas. We can choose a performer we want to see and go for the weekend. I know you can do that from Montreal, but for us, it will be 2 hours. Palm Springs, where, Frank Sinatra used to spend his winters, is a big spot with people out here.
Yeah, but don't you have to be 80 to get into Palm Springs? Don't they card you at the gates of the community?
Yeah,
and drive. You're only 78. You can't come in.
And drive a golf cart. Yeah, so there's those are things we're looking forward to when we finally can get out of this nonsense, this bullshit.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you here.
Yes.
In a couple of weeks, we'll get back to the studio. We'll go down and see Sebastiano at Non Solo Pane in Laval. Get some sandwiches.
Yes.
And maybe a couple of pastries.
And we've got some guests lined up that we're excited about, and we're going to try and, I don't want to mention who they are now because we got to nail them down first. We got to get the 100% confirmation that they'll be there.
In this circumstance, it can be difficult.
Yes, exactly. So we're looking forward to that. And I hope you don't mind being Miss Daisy while you drive me.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have to call Adrian at Jaguar Land Rover Laval and see if she wants to lend us a car this time around, or if maybe she's had it by now. I'm not falling for that again. But they're back as sponsors. As our sponsor. It's very exciting, and we're very happy and appreciative.
Yeah, and we're also very appreciative of everybody who's watched, who's clicked on a few minutes or watched these whole things, and all the nice emails we've got too. We've had a number of really nice emails from people who've really enjoyed it.
A guy said on Twitter the other day, "Are you going to do more than reminisce and 20 minutes of commercials in a 1-hour show this time around?" And I said, "Yeah, we'll see what we can arrange for you, pal."
So he was enjoying it then.
Yeah, very much so. Yes, we are going to do something different this time around.
Yeah, Ted and I have had several meetings, and I think we've actually, when you picked me up from the thing.
Train station?
Yes. We are going to have a meeting, and
we are
maybe a Sam each. So there'll be 2 meetings.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, the wheels are turning.
Hey, the wheels are turning.
Yeah.
All right. So is this the end of our mini podcast?
Well, I think so. We've gone over 10 minutes, and that was the target. So, okay. People are getting more than their money's worth. And of course, their money's worth was nothing.
I didn't even ask you. We didn't even talk about you at all, Ted.
There's nothing to say.
Yeah. Okay. You can plug the morning show. Oh, by the way, the morning show now has my voice on it.
That's right. Yeah. Terry's now the voice of my promo. He says previously on the Ted Bird Morning Show. On Light 106.7 CHSV FM, 106.7 FM, online at light1067.ca, on the iHeartRadio app, and on your smart speaker weekday mornings 5:30 to 9 a.m.
And you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's the Standing By Terry and Ted podcast. Thank you for watching.
Standing By, the Terry and Ted podcast, is sponsored by Jaguar Land Rover Laval, where the luxury is unmistakably British, but nobody wears a top hat or a monocle